I was always ready to help my sister stand on her feet and build a life after marriage, but my parents told me to just give her my apartment. They claimed family helps family, and I snapped not like this. I 29M am still in shock and need to know if I'm losing my mind here. Yesterday, my parents, 55M 53F, sat me down for what they called an important family discussion about my younger sister Emily's 22F upcoming wedding. For context, I've been working as a software engineer since graduating 5 years ago. I lived frugally, saved aggressively, and managed to buy a one-bedroom apartment in a decent neighborhood last year. It's nothing fancy, but it's mine, and I'm proud of what I've accomplished. My mortgage payments are manageable, and I've been slowly fixing it up on weekends. Emily got engaged 6 months ago to Tyler, 24M. They've been together for 2 years, and while he seems nice enough, neither of them has particularly stable employment. She works part-time at a boutique, and he's between careers after dropping out of his third attempt at college. So yesterday, my parents invited me over for dinner. After we ate, my dad cleared his throat and said they needed to discuss family responsibilities. My mom then explained that since Emily is getting married in 4 months, they've been thinking about how to help the young couple start their life together properly. We've decided that the best wedding gift you can give your sister is your apartment, my mother said as casually as if she was asking me to pass the salt. I literally choked on my coffee. When I could speak again, I asked if they were joking. They weren't. My father launched into this whole speech about how, as the older sibling, it's my responsibility to help Emily establish herself. He said that since I'm single and have a good job, I can easily find another place to rent, while Emily and Tyler need the stability of home ownership to build their family. But I worked for years to buy this place, I said. I saved every penny, skipped vacations, drove a 15-year-old car. Exactly, my mother interrupted. You've proven you can do it once, so you can do it again. Emily doesn't have your advantages. She needs this more than you do. The advantages she's referring to. I guess she means my computer science degree that I paid for myself through scholarships and working nights at a warehouse, or maybe my ability to live on ramen and peanut butter sandwiches for 3 years to save for a down payment. I tried explaining that I can't just give someone an apartment. There's a mortgage, property taxes, HOA fees. My dad waved his hand dismissively and said we could work out the details, but the important thing was to commit to the idea. The details being that I continue paying for an apartment I don't live in. I asked, just until Tyler finds his footing career-wise. My mom said, a year or 2 at most. Then they can take over the payments or buy you out at a family discount. I asked what they meant by family discount, and my dad said probably 50 to 60% of market value would be fair since you'd be selling to family. At this point, I stood up to leave. My mother actually grabbed my arm and said, "Don't be selfish, Michael. Family helps family. When we're gone, Emily is all you'll have." What about what Emily can do for herself, I asked. She's getting married, not becoming disabled. Why can't she and Tyler save up like I did? My father's face turned red. Because not everyone is like you, living like a hermit with no social life, no relationships, just work and saving money. Some people actually want to enjoy their youth. That stung. Yes, I sacrificed a lot to buy my place. Yes, I dated less and went out less than my friends, but I had a goal and I achieved it. Now they want me to hand it over because Emily chose differently. I left without agreeing to anything. Since then, I've received 17 text messages from my mother about reconsidering of 8 missed calls from my father. A Facebook message from Emily saying she's disappointed. I'm not happy about her wedding. An Instagram DM from Tyler saying he hopes we can work something out like family. My parents have even gotten my aunts involved. Aunt Linda called to tell me that in her day, older siblings always helped the younger ones, and it's what your grandparents would have wanted. Here's what bothers me most. Not once has anyone asked me nicely. Not once has Emily called to have an actual conversation. It's all demands and guilt trips. They're acting like my apartment is already theirs to give away. I worked 60-hour weeks for 3 years. I gave up concerts, trips, dinners out. I watched my friends travel to Europe while I stayed home and picked up extra freelance projects. I did all of this specifically to achieve home ownership before 30, and I did it. Am I really selfish for not wanting to give that away? For not wanting to go back to renting some crappy studio while watching my sister live in the apartment I earned? For being angry that they expect me to keep paying the mortgage while getting nothing in return? I need outside perspective because my entire family is making me feel like I'm some kind of monster for not immediately agreeing to this insane request. Edit. Since several people asked, no, my parents didn't help with my down payment or co-sign anything. They actually told me I was being ridiculous when I said I was saving to buy instead of rent. Also, Emily's wedding is being paid for entirely by our parents, who are spending about $35,000 on it. But apparently that's different because a wedding is a once-in-a-lifetime event. Update 1, 2 weeks later. I never thought I'd be back so soon with an update this insane, but here we are. For those who didn't see my original post, my parents demanded I give my apartment to my sister as a wedding gift. I refused, and they've been rallying the family against me ever since. I took the advice many of you gave and tried to have one more calm conversation with my parents. I invited them to lunch at a neutral location and explained my position clearly. The apartment represents years of sacrifice and hard work. I'm not willing to give it away, but I'd be happy to contribute to Emily's wedding in other ways. Maybe $1,000 toward the honeymoon, or helping them with first month's rent somewhere. My mother literally laughed. $8,000, Michael? That's insulting. We're talking about setting up your sister's future, not buying her a toaster. I stayed calm and said that was what I could afford while maintaining my own financial obligations. My father accused me of being intentionally obtuse and said they weren't leaving until I saw reason. That was Thursday. On Sunday, I got home from grocery shopping to find multiple cars in my building's visitor parking. I recognized my parents' SUV and Emily's Honda, but there were 2 other cars I didn't know. As I walked toward the building carrying my groceries, I saw a group of people standing outside my door. My parents, Emily, Tyler, and 3 people I'd never seen before were clustered in the hallway. One of the strangers was taking photos of my door and the hallway. "What's going on?" I asked. Emily beamed at me. "We're doing the initial planning. This is Madison, our wedding planner, and these are Rob and Diane from Fresh Start Interiors. They're going to help us plan the renovation." I stood there holding my grocery bags, completely speechless. Madison extended her hand with a bright smile. "You must be Michael. Your family has told me so much about you. How generous to give your sister such a wonderful wedding gift." "I'm not giving anyone anything," I said flatly. "You all need to leave." The smile froze on Madison's face. Emily's face turned red. "Michael, don't be ridiculous. We drove all the way here and Madison charges by the hour." "Then you should have called first," I said, pushing past them to unlock my door. "And you definitely shouldn't have told people I'm giving you my apartment when I've made it crystal clear I'm not." Rob. The interior designer cleared his throat awkwardly. "Perhaps we should reschedule when everyone's on the same page." "There's nothing to reschedule," I said. "This isn't happening." My mother grabbed my arm as I tried to enter my apartment. "Michael James Wilson, you are not going to embarrass this family in front of professionals. Let them in to take measurements." "No," I said, jerking my arm away, "and if any of you try to enter my apartment, I'll call the police." Tyler stepped forward, trying to look intimidating, despite being several inches shorter than me. "Dude, come on. Don't make this weird. It's just a quick walkthrough. Get away from my door," I said, my voice louder than I intended. Several of my neighbors had started peeking out of their apartments. Madison and the designers quickly excused themselves, clearly uncomfortable. Emily burst into tears, wailing about how I was ruining everything and destroying her dreams. My father pointed his finger at me. "You've crossed a line. This isn't over." They all left, but not before my mother shouted loud enough for the entire floor to hear, "I hope you're happy living alone forever in that apartment because you're choosing it over your family." Since then, the harassment has escalated. Emily posted on Facebook about how some people value money over family and tagged me. A Tyler's mother, who I've met exactly twice, called to lecture me about supporting young love, and my parents have been telling extended family that I'm having a mental health crisis, and that's why I'm being irrational. As someone, I suspect Emily signed my email up for dozens of rental listing newsletters, and my mother left a voicemail saying she's reconsidering whether I'll be invited to Thanksgiving. The most infuriating part, I found out from my cousin that my parents recently refinanced their house to pay for Emily's dream wedding. They pulled out $35,000 in equity for flowers and catering and a designer dress. But somehow I'm the selfish one for not giving away my $200,000 apartment. I've now installed a Ring doorbell and changed my locks. My parents had a spare key for emergencies. I've also started documenting everything in case I need to pursue legal action. I can't believe it's come to this. All because I won't give my sister the apartment I worked myself to the bone to buy. According to my family, that makes me the villain. Update 2. 1 month later, I genuinely didn't think the situation could get worse, but I've learned to never underestimate the lengths entitled people will go to. Quick recap. My parents demand I give my apartment to my sister as a wedding gift. I refuse. They bring wedding planners to my home without permission. I threatened to call the police. Since my last update, things escalated in ways I couldn't have imagined. First, the subtle harassment continued. My mailbox was mysteriously filled with sand twice. Someone kept signing my phone number up for car warranty calls. I'd get food deliveries I didn't order at 2 a.m. Petty stuff that was annoying but not worth pursuing legally. Then about 2 weeks ago, I started getting mail addressed to Tyler at my apartment. First, it was junk mail, then what looked like official correspondence. I marked it all returned to sender and didn't think much of it until I got a large envelope from the DMV. I opened it. Yes, I know I shouldn't have, but my name and address were on the envelope with Tyler Morrison written in. It was a driver's license renewal form with my address listed as his residence. I immediately called my parents demanding an explanation. My mother played dumb at first, then finally admitted Tyler had been having issues with his previous living situation, aka his parents kicked him out and needed a stable address for job applications. "So you gave him my address," I shouted. "It's temporary," she said. "Just until after the wedding when he moves in anyway. He's not moving in here ever." I said, "Michael, you're being ridiculous. It's just an address. You're not even using all your space." I hung up and started Googling. Turns out in my state, someone receiving mail at an address can be used to establish residency. If Tyler could prove he's been receiving mail at my apartment, it could complicate any future legal action to keep him out. I hired a lawyer the next day. Best $300 consultation fee I've ever spent. She advised me to document everything, formally notify Tyler via certified mail that he's not authorized to use my address, and file a police report for fraud if he's used my address on official documents. I sent the certified letter. Tyler never picked it up. But the very next day, I came home to find my sister sitting in the hallway outside my apartment with 2 suitcases. "What are you doing here, Emily?" She looked up at me with red eyes. "Tyler and I had a fight. I need somewhere to stay." "Call Mom and Dad," I said, stepping around her. "I can't," she wailed. "They'll say we shouldn't be living together before the wedding anyway. Please, Michael, just for a few nights." Everything in me screamed that this was a trap. "No, Emily. I'm sorry you're having problems, but you can't stay here. I'm your sister." She screamed loud enough that doors opened down the hall. "You have a whole apartment to yourself, and you won't even help me for one night." I went inside and locked the door. She sat out there for 3 hours, alternating between sobbing, calling my phone, and yelling through the door. I finally called building security, who escorted her out when she couldn't prove she lived there. The next morning, I woke up to 47 text messages. Highlights include a mom: "Your sister slept in her C because of you." A dad: "This has gone too far. We need to have a family meeting." Emily: "I hope you can live with yourself." A Tyler: "Thanks for making Emily cry again." A asterisk hole. But the crown jewel was a text from a number I didn't recognize. "This is Madison, wedding planner. The Wilsons have asked me to reach out about potentially downsizing the wedding to afford a rental deposit for Emily and Tyler. I wanted to verify with you that you're truly unwilling to help before we proceed with cancellations." I responded, "I've been clear about my position. Please don't contact me again, Madison. I understand. It's just such a shame when family values differ so drastically. I've never seen siblings be so cruel to each other." I blocked her number. Last week was the family meeting my father demanded. I refused to go to their house, so we met at a restaurant. I brought my friend James as a witness, which immediately angered them. "This is family business," my mother hissed. "James is here to ensure this stays civil." I said the meeting was a disaster. They prepared a whole presentation. Literally, my father had printed PowerPoints about a why Emily deserves the apartment more than me, how my selfishness is destroying the family, a statistics about how married couples need stability, a payment plan where I'd continue paying the mortgage for 2 years while they live there. The last slide was titled, "Michael's Contributions to Emily's Future," and listed her apartment valued at $200,000. A mortgage payments for 24 months, $48,000. A modest rent at new location, $1,500 per month, equals $36,000. They actually expected me to gift my sister $284,000 over 2 years. I stood up to leave. My father grabbed my wrist. "Sit down. We're not done." James stepped in. "Let go of him now." My father released me but said, "This is what you've become, bringing muscle to intimidate your parents." "He's an accountant," I said, "and a witness to this insanity." My mother started crying. "Where did we go wrong with you? How did you become so cold?" Emily finally spoke up. "I just wanted a nice wedding and a place to start my life. I didn't think my own brother would hate me so much." "I don't hate you," I said, "but I also don't owe you my apartment." Tyler leaned back and smirked. "Man, when your parents die, don't expect Emily to share any inheritance with you. You've shown your true colors." That was it. I looked at each of them and said, "I'm done. Don't contact me again unless it's to apologize for this insane behavior." And Tyler, if I receive one more piece of mail with your name and my address, I'm pressing charges for fraud. I left with James, who was absolutely stunned. Your family is certifiably insane, he said. That was a week ago. The flying monkeys have been out in full force since then. Cousins, aunts, family friends, even my old high school teacher have reached out to tell me I'm breaking my mother's heart and destroying the family. But here's the thing. I'm not backing down. I work too hard for what I have to just hand it over because Emily wants to play house with her unemployed boyfriend. If that makes me the family villain, so be it. I've installed security cameras, documented everything, and have a lawyer on standby. I'm also looking into therapy because this whole situation has been emotionally exhausting. To those saying, I should just give in to keep the peace. What peace? They've already declared war on me for having boundaries. Giving in now would just teach them that harassment works. I'll update again if anything major happens, but for now, I'm focusing on protecting myself and my property because apparently that's what it's come to. Final update 3 months later. This will be my last update on this situation. When I first posted, I genuinely thought my family would eventually see reason. I was wrong, but I found peace with that. After my last update, where I established firm boundaries and involved a lawyer, things got quiet for about 2 weeks. I foolishly thought they'd accepted reality. Then I got a call from my building's management office asking me to come down immediately. When I arrived, I found the property manager looking concerned along with Tyler and a man I didn't recognize. Tyler was holding a lease agreement. Mr. Wilson, the property manager, began. This gentleman says he's your new roommate. Tyler jumped in with his whole story about how I'd agreed to let him move in after working things out with the family and that he'd already paid me first month's rent and a deposit. The man with him was apparently a witness to our verbal agreement. I laughed. Actually laughed. I've never seen this man before in my life. And Tyler is absolutely not moving in with me. Tyler's face went red. Bro, don't be like this. We had a deal. Show me one text, one email, one shred of evidence that I agreed to this, I said. He couldn't, of course. The property manager asked them to leave and warned Tyler that any attempt to access the building without authorization would result in criminal trespass charges. As they left, Tyler turned and said, Emily's pregnant. Hope you can live with keeping your nephew out on the streets. That was news to everyone, including my parents, apparently, because my mother called an hour later screaming about how I'd stressed Emily into a high-risk pregnancy. Is she actually pregnant? I asked. She took a test yesterday. 2 pink lines. And now she's so upset about your selfishness that the doctor says she needs bed rest. What doctor? She found out yesterday and already saw a doctor who prescribed bed rest. The line went quiet before my mother hung up. Turns out Emily wasn't pregnant. She'd posted on Instagram the next day drinking champagne at her bachelorette party. When called out, she claimed it was sparkling grape juice and then deleted all the posts. The wedding was scheduled for last weekend. I wasn't invited, which was fine by me, but the drama didn't end there. 3 days before the wedding, my cousin Sarah called me. She'd been at the rehearsal dinner where Emily had a meltdown because the apartment situation was ruining her special day. Apparently, she'd been telling everyone she was moving into a luxury apartment after the wedding, and people were starting to ask for the address to send housewarming gifts. Tyler tried to save face by claiming they were still finalizing the paperwork with me, which led to confused relatives asking why I'd changed my mind so close to the wedding. When word got back to me through the family grapevine, I sent one mass email to all the relatives who'd been harassing me. To be clear, I have never agreed to give Emily my apartment. I will never give Emily my apartment. Tyler has been fraudulently using my address, which my lawyer is handling. Anyone who continues to harass me about this will be blocked. Enjoy the wedding. The wedding day came and went. From what I heard, it was beautiful and went off without major incident. Though apparently Emily made several passive-aggressive comments during her speech about family who couldn't be here because they chose material possessions over love. Then came the honeymoon disaster. Remember how Tyler was between careers? Well, apparently he'd been telling Emily he had a job lined up that would start right after the wedding. Surprise? There was no job. There was never a job. Tyler had been living off credit cards and small loans from friends, pretending to go to interviews that didn't exist. This all came out when their credit card was declined at the honeymoon resort. Emily called my parents hysterically from Cancun, and they had to wire money to cover the hotel bill. When they got back the apartment they'd supposedly lined up, telling everyone I was being difficult about the paperwork fell through because shock, they couldn't pass the credit check. They moved in with my parents temporarily. It's been 2 weeks since the wedding. According to Sarah, the only family member I'm still in contact with, the situation at my parents' house is tense. Tyler spends all day job hunting, aka playing video games in the basement. Emily is working part-time and complaining constantly about how this isn't how newlyweds are supposed to live, and my parents are stressed about having them there indefinitely. My mother broke the silence yesterday with a text. "I hope you're happy. Your sister is miserable." I responded, "Emily's choices made Emily miserable." My apartment wouldn't have fixed Tyler's unemployment or their financial irresponsibility. She sent back, "A good brother would have helped anyway." I blocked her number. Here's what I've learned through all this. Family isn't about blood. It's about respect, boundaries, and mutual support, not one-sided demands and emotional manipulation. My family showed me who they really are, and I believe them. I've started therapy to work through the guilt and grief of essentially losing my family. My therapist says I'm grieving not the family I have, but the family I wished I had. That hit hard. For anyone in a similar situation, here's my advice. A document, everything. The paper trail saved me legally. And don't negotiate with emotional terrorists. They'll always want more. And no is a complete sentence. I get security cameras before you need them. A good lawyer is worth every penny. You can't fix other people's poor planning, and protecting what you've earned isn't selfish. I still live in my apartment. I've redecorated a bit, hung some new art, bought a plant. It feels more like home now that I'm not constantly defending my right to live in it. Sometimes I wonder if I could have handled things differently, been more diplomatic maybe. But then I remember they literally brought wedding planners to tour my home without permission and tried to establish residency through mail fraud. There was no reasonings with that level of entitlement. I'm dating someone now. She's kind, has her own career and apartment, and her family believes in boundaries. It's refreshing to be around people who don't view my success as their personal ATM. As for my family, Emily and Tyler are still living with my parents, still unemployed, still bitter, still posting passive-aggressive memes about family loyalty on Facebook. But that's not my problem anymore. My apartment is peaceful, my life is peaceful, and despite what my mother believes, I'm happy. Sometimes the best gift you can give yourself is the strength to say no and mean it.